What's popping, y'all? The saga between Ebro, not really Laura Stiles, Ebro and Rosenberg and Akademiks still continues, which is a little bit surprising considering these guys are gaining a lot from Akademiks going back and forth with them. But I think Akademiks just has such a grudge on them that he wants to continue to celebrate in their failure whilst he's inadvertently feeding them a lot more than he is taking away from them or enjoying their failure. But another person that seems to be enjoying their quote failure, especially that of Rosenberg, is none other than Drake, because Drake would not call in, but he'd text in and leave a message to Akademiks during the stream while he was watching Ebro and Rosenberg clips.
Hey, the boy hit me. He said, yo, Act. He said, no cap. He said, dog, when I was watching that clip, you feel me? He said, when I seen Rosendweeb streaming and I could see that fridge in the background, I didn't even peep that. I swear. This is what the boy told. He said, when I could peep the fridge in the background. You feel me? He said, this is what he said. He said, times are tough. Times are tough. Yeah. He said, yo, this is crazy. No, Drake got jokes. He says the kitchen is in the living room and the office. Oh, nah, he got it. Nah, Drake got it. Nah, he says the kitchen is in the living room and the office. Oh, nah, Drake got jokes. Drake got jokes. Yo, Rosendweeb. I peeped that. He said, Act, I'm watching. The got the fridge right there. He's in his office, but I see the fridge, and that he's in the living room the same time. It's a 3-in-1. It's a studio. It's a studio. It's a studio, y'all. It's a studio all in one. Nah, Drake Petty. Nah, axe emojis for that. Axe emojis. We just gotta do it. Just axe him. Yo, Drake said, I'm peeping it. He in his office. He in the living room. And I peeped the fridge. He in the kitchen too. Holy. Nah. That's why I had to go back to the video. I'm like, what? And he in 240p? He in 240p, the kitchen, the living room, and the office all at once. Nah, this is historic. This is historic right here.
So first off, Drake is hilarious. Let's be for real here, man. Drake is one of the few rappers where when you see him interact with an Aiden Ross, you see him interact with an XQC, you see him interact with a Yachty, you see him do the Caleb Presley thing, you see him interact with, what's the other girl's name? The girl whose career he made that we don't care about anymore, that she left her husband and kids and now is dating an NFL player. I don't know why I'm thinking her name is Bonnie. You guys know who I'm talking about. The girl that stole from Funny Marco. Her. We've seen him interact with her. We've seen him in every field. He just seems like a chill guy. Chill, funny, normal guy. Versus most rappers are tryharding. They're weird. They probably don't say much in person because they're just off a bunch of drugs. So that's one thing with Drake. But I do think it's funny that when you reach the end game, you think about it. You're a billionaire. You've made so much money off of music. You've got $100 million castle. What is he doing? The same thing as us watching this. So that should make all of us feel better about our lives, because even at the tippy top, the greatest entertainment is just to kick back and just watch something. But another thing that I have to, and this is also funny. It's the dude's got a fridge. Is he in a studio setup? Really, what he's probably got is he's got it on his island. He's got a kitchen island. He's got his laptop set up there. Now the internet connection needs work. He's in Jersey, isn't he? There's some good internet connection in Jersey, isn't there? Well, actually, no. Doesn't Akademiks internet always go out? He's got to tap in with the Starlink. I don't know. Maybe he's got some political issues with Elon or something. But listen, the product is the product. So get that Starlink, because we cannot have Juan Epstein in 240p. But one thing that I found funny is that where was Drake calling in when Akademiks was waiting fit? Akademiks is laughing, but he was playing Drake songs for 15 hours before his album dropped, and then he hopped on a Casanet stream. Dude calls into Casanet. Meanwhile, Akademiks was spinning all of that all day, falling asleep on stream. I don't even remember what release that was. I don't think it was Some Sexy Songs for You. It was the one before that. Was it? Nah, it wasn't. It was Her Loss? I don't even remember, man. Too much Drake has dropped. Well, nah, actually, there is a too much. Well, yeah, he didn't even hit him up during then. He said, actually, he texted me, he said, yo, I'm going to be on your stream. and just never pulled up, went ghost. That's crazy. But we would get some responses from Rosenberg that would make a good point when he was talking about Akademiks' platform, because the way Akademiks phrases it, very often he's like, yo, these guys at radio, they thought they were better than me, like I'm doing this for new media, like new YouTube, this and that. And Rosenberg made a very good point.
It never ends with Akademiks. He's always, and the truth is, there's another video where Akademiks talked about, us apologizing. Ebro and I should apologize to him because we said he wasn't ish and blah, blah, blah. I really do feel that some of the criticism we gave him led to him being like some of the validation issues that he has. The one thing that he always mistakes about it, though, he always makes it, we talked trash about the medium of YouTube. Like, we were like, no, we're on the real microphones. You're not. That was never the content of the criticism. It was specifically about the kind of content that he was making and not having respect for the kind of work that he was doing. It was never a looking down our nose from...
I don't think people realize we've always been on YouTube.
Why would we have been anti-YouTube?
Okay, so to be objective about this, we're talking specifically about Rosenberg here and Ebro. So sometimes Akademiks will loop both of them when it's something that Ebro did. Now, what is a fact? There was a fact that Hot 97, Power 105, they had this rivalry or beef. Akademiks was given an interview by Charlemagne very early on in his career. Charlemagne did the interview, and then he also tried to interview Ebro. Ebro and the Hot 97 people did not want to interview him because there was beef with Charlemagne. Like, that's just how they saw the situation. That's one thing. Ebro, also actually the two guys that he had beef with that were also, funnily enough, on TV while he had the Complex show, Desus and Miro, they are the ones that said, oh yeah, you're on that internet show, we're on TV with a real set, all of that. Ebro, also, if there was somebody that looked down on YouTube as a platform, it was for sure Ebro. It was not Rosenberg. Because Rosenberg had the original hip-hop podcast. Yeah, like before Combat Jack, before Taxstone, before all of these people, which meant that he was uploading it to YouTube, but he was also uploading it to Apple Podcasts because podcast comes from the iPod. So that's where it originally came from, Apple. So he was already ahead on new technology, uploading stuff very early on, and he was tapped into the internet. And yeah, Hot 97 was always on YouTube, but it was a radio station, first and foremost. And the fact that they felt that they were better, they were correct in some cases, because the radio station, the prestige around even like an Apple Music or the prestige around a Hot 97, people still do radio interviews for a reason. It's because there is prestige around it. There is more prestige around that than traditional media than there is a YouTube channel. That just is what it is. Like, yes, when traditional media is also on YouTube, then they're crushing it. But let's not pretend that much has changed in that realm. Also, radio holds such a strong impact on chart positions, which is very important, and on local, like playing music locally, which matters a lot for artists too. And that's why artists will sometimes do interviews with radio stations that do like 1,000 views, 1,500 views, because it's kind of like a favor. They're like, hey, they're going to spin this record. We got a relationship. They're maintaining relationships. However, the biggest criticism for Akademiks was, in fact, the type of content, because the way that most of them discovered him was via the Complex show, or when they were finally forced to talk about him. And most of the criticism was based on the War in Chirac. The War in Chirac was pure unadulterated content. Like, it was S-tier entertainment. People will try and pretend like, like that was lame. Now, granted, if you were one of the people in it, now a lot of those people in it said that they liked it, but if you lost people in it and you were from that neighborhood, yeah, you're absolutely correct in being upset or feeling some type of a way about it. But that was the criticism that he was getting. He was not getting, like, for example, Adam 22, who was doing a podcast, he was not getting criticism for being on YouTube by these people, but Akademiks was. So there's a distinction to be made there, and I think Rosenberg is on the money with this. And on top of that, Akademiks tries to do some revisionist history and say, nah, like I'm always bigging up new media. I paved the way for new media, this and that. Well, he was on the same hater type of mode because his number two the person right behind him and the person that really started covering XXXTentacion before him, and the Bad Babies, and like the people within that, like the Trippie Reds, those were covered first by Dom is Live. And Dom is Live was inspired by Akademiks to a degree. He already had his thing going on YouTube. And what did Akademiks do? He ignored him for a long time, and then he chastised him and went on like a 2-hour live stream just grilling the guy for no reason. And there were other people around that time covering different scenes, like the young boy scene, a lot of street rap. It was covered by this guy. I don't know if he still uploads, but this guy Jerbode, TX, I think he's from Texas, but he was covering the TK stuff. Yeah, Akademiks never reached out to that guy or embraced that guy. And there was another person that I'm thinking of. Brad, the name just escapes me. Oh, he also said that he had beef with Say Cheese for a long time with Sean Cotton, who wasn't even like doing any commentary type of stuff. So what he's accusing these guys of doing, he had done at a period of time. Now, he did change after he realized he's cemented and probably made tens of millions of dollars and was not threatened by these people anymore. But yeah, he was not like, yo, I'm paving this, I'm helping people up. And it's not that you need to help people up or you should help people up, but actively just like insulting a guy that's the number 2 that never said anything bad is what you're accusing these guys of doing. And they never did that. They just critiqued the content. So that's a good point made by Rosenberg. We have to concede that. However, when Rosenberg starts going in on the Drake response, that's where we got to turn back around for a moment.
I will say this. Drake hitting up Akademiks to laugh at me is so rich, given, like, Drake's probably forgotten because Drake probably has known a lot of people over the years, and so have I. But, like, I remember my relationship with Drake very well.
So does he.
I don't know that he remembers how cool we were. I don't know that he remembers the conversations. Like, I have memories of the conversations. You can hit up Akademiks or whichever new, internet personalities that come along that he always befriends. Because again, trying to fill that void. He's always befriending the next one so they can fluff him up. Always some next 19-year-old vlogger who he can be buddies with. I understand that. But that's not going to erase the Drake calling me and nearly in tears because I didn't like the God's Plan video. Literally screaming at the top of his lungs, nearly in tears, like, my mom called me, why, blah, blah, blah. Scream. I was like, to the point where like, I held up the phone and looked at my ex-wife like, I don't know what is going. This man is screaming at me on the phone about my criticism of the God's Plan video.
And that's the video that I said I like, because I was defending Drake at that point.
Yeah. And by the way, and in retrospect, I did think I was a little harsh about it, but I thought my criticism was fair. I thought it was corny. But that was also years into our relationship. Where we had many years where it was like, we were very, very friendly. But the one thing, because Akademiks has a lot of money, there's no question about it. And, you can see I'm living in just a sad, sad little studio there.
In the kitchen.
I'm living in the kitchen. It's gone bad for me. But Akademiks has a lot of money. Drake has a lot of money. But I have something that neither of them have. And that is called real friends.
Okay, first off, the real friends thing. If there's any rapper in the game that I would say actually has real friends, it would be Drake. Like, you've got 40, you've got Oliver, you've got Chubbs, you've got, who else? I think there's like 1 or 2 more people that aren't as involved. Like, these people were with Drake from the soil. And Drake keeps these guys around. We never saw falling out between them. We never saw some shiesty text between them. We never saw public subliminals being tossed between them. Never. Nothing of the sort. Just straight, solid guys and a solid friendship throughout his whole career, which is something that can't be said about the majority of other rappers. They've had falling outs. They've had subs being thrown. Relationships have been on ice, these industry relationships. But Drake, he's got some real friends. Now, Akademiks, I don't really know, to be honest. But when he starts talking about Drake and that relationship and how upset he was at God's Plan, that had me dying. That is funny. That is really funny. And I don't know. This is the thing. I think he appreciated Rosenberg, but I think as Drake stopped being seen as the corny guy, he probably started seeing Rosenberg as like, oh, like, I'm too cool for you now. Because for a long time, if you guys remember the DMX rants that he was going on and the Charlemagne rants that he was going on, people were just thinking like Drake was corny, lame, sing-songy guy. Like, yeah, he made good music, but that's not the cool guy. Things started to shift. I would say the complete shift was 2015. Like when he went on that run with not only Future, but he also dropped If You're Reading This, It's Too Late. That's when it flipped on its head. That's not to say that like nothing was the same, wasn't good, but that perception was in the middle of being like in the middle of changing, like metamorphosis. What is it? A chrysanthemum? Is that when the caterpillar is in the womb? Not the womb, when it spreads the silk around itself. I haven't read The Hungry Hungry Caterpillar in a very long time. So, and nor have I watched season 1 of Pokemon in a very long time. So you guys are going to have to, excuse me on that. I'm just going off the dome here. You also got to consider that Drake is a hip hop head. And when you're talking about hip hop, you know how LeBron James says like, yeah, like I'm a hip hop historian. That's Drake. Drake is showing up to URL events. He knows all the battle rappers. He knows all the journalists. He knows the issues of XXL and The Source. He knows who ran that. He knows the entire game back and forth, like the entire book, which also means that figures like Elliott Wilson, figures like Rosenberg, he had a lot of respect for these guys. So I'm not surprised that Rosenberg giving him negative feedback, especially after being friends with him and cool with him and saying like, yo, this God's Plan video wasn't it. And everybody else loved the God's Plan video. I could see that hurting Drake. I could see that hurting him emotionally and him reaching out about it because he was also hurt by Elliott Wilson. When Elliott Wilson kind of switched up on Drake a little bit, and part of that is because Drake was doing interviews outside of hip hop, given that Drake gave Elliott Wilson and Rap Radar one of the biggest interviews of Drake's career as well. Like at such a pivotal moment that he probably felt a way about that too. He probably thought like, yo, I gave Elliott Wilson this interview because I respect him and the work that he's done, and because I'm doing some other interviews, like he wants me to kick it with him. And then now they've got their own issues. And of course, it's not like personal issues, but it's like a business type of thing. Also, it's very hard. You cannot be like a journalist and be cool with a rapper that's very popular that you have to talk about. It just does not work, especially because like rappers like Drake, they're putting their all into music. They're making a product that is personal. So when somebody that's their friend or cool with them criticizes that, they are criticizing them personally, or at least that's what it feels like to the artist. So I do not doubt that Drake was doing this, but I wonder if Akademiks is going to ask Drake about this. If he's going to be like, yo, chat, I had to go hit Drake. I had to go hit the boy and ask him, were you really crying to Rosenberg over his review on the God's Plan video? Me personally, I don't see that happening. But let me know what y'all think in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one.